It's okay. So, I want to do something a little different with you this time. It might be a little bit surprising, but this is perhaps one of the most famous Rambams in the entire book, the entire Torah. So it's really something to think about, and it's worthwhile. It's just so beautiful even on its own. But when I'm talking about relationships, when I'm talking about we always say, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," you should love your neighbor as yourself. And where is it primarily? Do we get to practice that? Do we get to love our neighbor like ourselves, as close as possible to
marriage?
Right, in a marriage, exactly, with your spouse. But really, you're supposed to love everybody, right? You're supposed to love your neighbor. Your neighbor is, even though you don't know him, even though it's, and of course you love your parents and you love your siblings. But so there's like a wider net, and then there's the more focused energy. So we find another similarity, another mitzvah, which also has that sort of a more immediate internal circle, and then there's concentric circles, widening. What mitzvah else do we have that? We have a similar structure by the mitzvah of giving tzedakah. You're supposed to give tzedakah to poor people, help them out. There's a principle in the Talmud that says, Aniyei ircha kodmim. If you have poor people from your city that need help, and people from the next town over, which one do you think takes precedence?
Your town.
Yeah, why?
Fix things at home before you can come.
That's it. It's something intuitive. It's not obvious, but it is intuitive that got to fix things at home, as you say. So it goes beyond one town and the next town. Every town has a responsibility, first and foremost, for their own, and then, if you have enough left over, by all means, help the next town over. And then within the town, say there's a lot of poor people in the town. Who do you give to first? People you know, or your family. Your family takes precedence. For example, most of my tzedakah goes to where?
Children.
That's right. You know that halachically, once the child becomes of age, you don't really have to support him. Nowadays, kids leave the house when they're 25, right? College, some places, and you're spending money on your kids for their education past the age of 13 for sure, high school, and so halachically, you have no obligation to do that as a parent. Be out of the mitzvah to take care of your kids, like you obviously small kids. That's your responsibility to take care of them. But after that, it's part of the mitzvah of tzedakah. So you can take it out of your 10%. Some people calculate. Let's say for another class. There's a lot of details about the laws of giving tzedakah. We learn out that the concept of 10% and maybe 20%. From various situations in the Torah. Who said he's going to give 10% to God from his property?
Avram. The Melchizedek.
Good. Avram the Melchizedek is the first one. And Vayten l'Maaser Mikol, he gave him a tenth of everything. But that was from the spoils. From the war when he went to save Lot, right, and the people of Sodom that were captured by the 4 kings, fighting against the 5 kings. But then later on, someone else, Yaakov promises that if you save me, he was leaving the land of Israel, and give me bread to eat, clothes to wear, bring me back to the land where I'm now in exile from, I will give you 10% of everything. So these are some biblical precedents for the concept of 10%. And then, of course, there are mitzvot, which require you to give 10% to tzedakah. Which mitzvah would that be? Close, yes. Yeah, Truma is less. Truma and...
Where is it?
It's 150. So the sages say it's 150. Truma, but there's Trumat Maaser, which is 10% of the Maaser, which you give to the Levi. So that's 10%. 10% comes out to be 1%. So that's the Trumat Maaser is for sure 1%. But in any case, of course, Maaser is the word comes from Eser, from 10. So anyways, there's a lot of details. There's of course Maaser Ani. This is given to the poor person, not to the Levi, and not to the Kohen, but to the poor person, which is 1/10 of what's left after you took off the Truma and the Maaser to the Kohen and the Levi. Which years of the Shemitah cycle is the Maaser Ani given?
Third.
Excellent. 3rd and 6th. Very good. Then there's, but pretty much all these discussions of the maaser there, that's all in kind giving. So if you have apples, you give 10% of the apples. Right? And if you have figs, without going into all the 7 species, or biblically, it could be actually that it's only obligated biblically from the 7 species that we were speaking about earlier. In any case, that's in kind giving. To the poor, also the corner of a field is to the poor. But the concept of giving from your money or from your earnings, it's not really stated anywhere explicitly in the halacha that you have to. It's like what's like income tax, right? You have to give a yearly report of how much you've come, and they take taxes a certain percent. That really doesn't exist. Some people say it's a mitzvah d'oraita, some people say it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, and some people say it's just a very ancient custom and a good custom. In any case, however much it is, who do you give it to? So you give it to poor people. You can also give some of the monies that you want to donate to Torah scholars who need to be supported, to institutions who teach Torah. And people give their maaser ksafim, their 10th of their earnings, of their money. Because, as I said, it's a little more flexible than what the Torah related to in the agricultural context, the in-kind giving. Tzedakah is given to all these places. And what I was saying before is that you go first between your city and the other city to your city, within your city to your family first. So for many, till today, much of my 10%, whether it's the right of the Rabbanan or a good deed, I try to give 10%, and maybe even more. But most of it goes to my kids. I pay tuition. My son is in yeshiva, and the other son they're a young couple, they're starting off, and they're going to school at the same time working, and they're working hard, and there's a lot of expenses. So I help out my kids. Baruch Hashem. It's a law of tzedakah. Yes, you wanted to ask a question.
Does it? We said about the fruit that it's for every kind of fruit we give 10%. Does it also mean for every kind of job? So you have, for example, 2 jobs. One job you're in the office, and one job.
Sure. Again, the rules are less set in stone because the not in kind giving is there's more discussions about it. If you win the lottery, do you have to give 10%? If you get an inheritance, do you have to give 10%? Right? It's money. It's not vegetables or produce. So there are laws about the produce, and we have to try to extrapolate from that to what the rules are regarding maaser ksafim. But bottom line is, yes, it doesn't matter where you earn the money. Once you get it and it's cash, you have access to it.
I'm asking, do we have to take 10% of our income that is together for, let's say, I have 2 jobs? You get
I believe so, yes. Yeah, the short answer is yes.
Or 10% from one job, 10% for the other job?
Oh, no, in the end of the day, if it's not in kind, in the end it's just, the value of what you're giving. It doesn't have to be that shekel that you earn. You don't have to take, the $100 bill and cut it into 10 and give the, right? It's the value. So you calculate how much it is. Some people do that at the end of the year. And then you give, how much you should give that year based on the sum total of the income. Even if you earn, you have shares in Bitcoin, you can then give the tzedakah in shekels, or the opposite. So yeah, that as I said, once it's not in kind of in the fruits, in actual fruits. Where am I going with this? There's another type of tzedakah. Who else do you give tzedakah to? Even closer than your kids.
Parents.
What was it?
You're both right, but yeah, your parents. Usually, the parents are if they need help, then obviously you're going to help them also because of mitzvah kibud aveim. Although the Talmud does say that the mitzvah kibud aveim is not necessarily out of your pocket, but it could be that you have to serve them and you have to care for them, but not necessarily pay out of your own pocket. But let's say they have the money, they just need the service, they just need somebody to help them out. So that's kibud aveim. But yes, I'm taking it now to go back to talk about the relationship of a marriage. You and your wife. Ever think of that? Giving tzedakah to your wife or to your husband. Yeah, you can wash dishes. That's a nice tzedakah. Listen, somebody needs helping out.
Right, volunteer before she asks you to.
There you go. That's right. That's right. You don't have to necessarily wash the dishes. There's a list. There's a list of the obligations of a husband to a wife, and the obligations of the wife to a husband. And of course, you can change much of the list. You can't change the conjugal obligations and the obligations which are assumed to be biblical of the husband provides for his wife, room and board. You have to, of course, nowadays parts of it can be changed because women work. Women work, and the economy allows for women to make money, and the standard obligations that a husband has to provide for his wife are usually considered to be in lieu of, because she takes care of the home while you're out there working. But nowadays, especially in Israel, most couples, you have two bread earners to make ends meet. That's a two-income household usually. Different economies work in different ways, and of course there's different positions. Some people have a very lucrative job, and usually the wife can be more at home taking care of the kids. But in any case, we're not going to get into the details of the halachot of marriage. What I'd like to do with you is to think of it in terms of beyond the obligations of a husband and wife, concept of tzedakah. If we said love your neighbor, actually refers to your wife as well. So to giving tzedakah to your neighbor, you're going to give tzedakah to your neighbor's wife. Going to give tzedakah to the people in the other town. You can give tzedakah in the home as well, and give tzedakah going beyond the letter of the law. What you are obligated to do. And here's the Rambam that I want to share with you. Everybody take a look, pass this around. It's the 10th chapter in the laws of tzedakah. Now, where do the laws of tzedakah appear in the Rambam? No, there's nothing called Hilchot Tzedakah, believe it or not. That's why it's so interesting. You see the answer on the top of your page. Hilchot Matnot Aniyim, gifts to the poor. Where does that appear in the Rambam?
Maybe Chagim, Purim.
Good try, but it's not the right answer. There's specific gifts that you have to give on Purim to the poor. You're right. That's another specific mitzvah. But the rest of the year, you still give mitzvah every day. Give tzedakah every day.
Yes, in the book on the Zeraim.
Excellent. Good. It's part of the agricultural laws. Because of all the Torah speaks about giving to the poor in kind. From your produce. So there he talks about it, and he goes on to, of course, like I was saying, you learn from the agricultural gifts to the tzedakah in general. Take a look at chapter 10. He talks about how important the mitzvah of tzedakah is. Russell, I'm so excited to see you back with us, so I'm going to ask you to read chapter 10, section 1 for us, please.
Okay. We must observe the precept of tzedakah more carefully than any other affirmative command.
Wait a minute, did you just hear what I heard? Do you know any other positive commands?
I know. No.
is
Anochi Hashem Elokecha is a positive command. Believe in God.
Yeah.
What other positive commands do you know?
Kibbud Av.
Putting on tzitzit, kibbud avayim, tefillin. Do you think people are more careful about tefillin or tzedakah? Wow. I just saw statistics in the newspaper yesterday, I think from America, and they said out of the top 25 philanthropists in the world, people who give tzedakah, more than half of the 25 are Jewish. It's amazing. Yeah, okay. But they're the philanthropists.
Yeah.
But they're philanthropists. Unfortunately, the rest of the study said they give very little to Jewish causes. They're not necessarily so connected to their Judaism. But Jews know that giving is part of what it means to be Jewish. In any case, it's the most important. It says we must observe this concept of tzedakah, the mitzvah of tzedakah, more carefully than any other affirmative command. So if there's laws about, there's classes here in Machon Meir on the laws of Shabbat, on the laws of Kashrut. Wow, why don't we have classes on the laws of tzedakah? Well, we're doing it a little bit now. But there should be more. We've got to be very careful about the mitzvah of tzedakah. It's a mitzvah. There's parameters, there's rules. We talked a little bit about it. This city, that city, money versus produce, your family, poor people, the Torah learners. There's lots of rules of tzedakah. And you're right, David. Coming up closer to Purim, we are going to be speaking about some of the rules of tzedakah, but usually as it pertains primarily to the day of Purim itself. There's an extra special mitzvah to give tzedakah on Purim. What's it called? It's one of the 4 mitzvot of Purim. Now that we're 30 days, what day is today? 14th of Shvat. 30 days before the 14th of Adar. So you're supposed to start learning the laws of the holiday 30 days in advance. Here we are. First laws of Purim. 4 mitzvot of Purim. They all start with the letter Mem. Mishteh. Mishteh is to have a party, drink. Matanot le'avyonim is gifts to the poor. Mishloach manot is food packages that you're supposed to give to your friends. And Megillah, of course. Megillah is the primary one, the way we do in the day and the night, and we make a bracha over it. Very good. So those are the 4. There's also Machzit HaShekel that comes before, and it's more of a custom. It's not really quite the mitzvah of Purim. So Matanat Yavrim is one of the mitzvah of Purim. So we talk about the parameters when we talk about the laws of Purim. But there should be more laws of tzedakah. Do you have a page for Michael over there? And okay, so Russell, I apologize. I was really rude to stop you. You just read one sentence, but I was so blown away by that opening line. I've never heard such an opening line by that. This is the Rambam, the halachist. Chayavim anu lizaher mitzvat tzedakah yoter mikol mitzvat aseh. More than any other positive commandment. Wow. Please go ahead and tell us why. What does the Rambam say? Because
tzedakah is characteristic of an upright person, the offspring of our father Abraham, as it is written, I have singled him out that he may charge his children to do what is right.
And the word for that in Hebrew is tzedakah. Lasot tzedakah. So tzedakah means in general, comes from the word righteousness. What is right? Righteous comes from the word righteous, right? And tzedek, that's what tzedek in Hebrew means. Tzedakah comes from the word tzedek. Actually, it's very interesting. They say that people usually translate tzedakah as, in English, translated as charity. Charity means giving donation out of the benevolence of your heart, like you're being merciful. In Hebrew, the source is righteousness, justice, right? Tzedek means what's right. It's the right thing. It's a socialist idea. Well, why should I have millions and you're groveling on the street, right? It's just not right. Everybody deserves to have what their basic needs covered. So the concept of tzedakah is not mere just be full of compassion. It's do the right thing. So that's what it translates here. To do what is right. I like the translation. That this is what Avram was known as. Where did God say, I have singled Avraham out so that he might charge his children to do what is right?
Genesis 18:19.
Yeah, what was happening there? What was happening there? What was happening there? Genesis 18. What was that? Good. Before Sodom and Gomorrah. God says, am I not going to tell Avram what's going on? My plan is, I know him. I've singled him out. Ki yadativ in Hebrew, they translate beautifully. I've singled him out. I've chosen Avraham. Why did I choose the Jewish people? Wow, from the very beginning. First Jew gets chosen because I know that he's going to do tzedakah. Go ahead.
Only by means of tzedakah will the glory of Israel be reestablished and the religion of truth perpetuated. As it is written, in righteousness you shall be established.
Wow. Isaiah 54. Tzedakah tikonani. If you want to be established, we want the state of Israel to be established, we've got to get our tzedakah in action. Go ahead.
Israel will be liberated only through tzedakah, as it is written, Zion shall be redeemed by justice, tzedakah shall be the saving of those who return.
Liberated in Hebrew? Geula. Geula, redemption. And Yisrael Nigalin, we're going to be redeemed from the exiles only in the merit of tzedakah. Again, quoting from Yeshayahu, here's time, it's the first chapter. Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh. Here's the parallel to righteousness and justice. B'mishpat tipadeh will be redeemed. V'shaveha, and its returners, the return of Zion, will come back. How? B'tzedakah. So tzedakah is very important. Let's keep going. Russell, I'll try to shut up. You read now. Continue. Number 2.
None ever becomes poor from giving charity. Nothing bad or injurious is caused by tzedakah. As it is written, the Lord will be kind and compassionate to you and multiply you. It's reading 13:18.
Wow. Divine blessings. Go ahead.
If anyone is cruel and shows...
I have it here. Page 2 is coming. Pass them around. Page 2 is coming. One for me. Shows no mercy.
If anyone is cruel and shows no mercy, there is reason to suspect his lineage. Cruelty is to be found...
Wait, did you catch that?
One more, Ross.
We need one more?
Everybody have?
You want more?
Guess I don't have any more.
No, we're sharing.
Oh, that's like giving tzedakah to each other. It's very good. You're putting into practice what we're learning about. What? Whoever's cruel and shows no mercy, there's reason to suspect his lineage. Ouch. Who is a Jew? Big political question, right? Who is a Jew? Here we have an indication by the words of the sages. They say that the Jew, what did I just quote? The philanthropists? This is a sign of the Jewish people, that they're always very giving, very merciful. And so if you see that this guy is just, stingy and very cruel, then it doesn't prove. It's not gonna, we can't kick him out of, take away citizenship so quickly. But there's reason to suspect that he's not acting like a Jew. Go ahead. Cruelty.
Cruelty is to be found only among the heathen. As it is written, they are cruel, pitiless. Giving on page 42. All Israelites and those who associate with them are regarded as brothers. As it is written, you are children of the Lord your God. 14. And if a brother shows no mercy to a brother, who will be compassionate to him? On whom then should the poor of Israel depend? On the people who hate them and persecute them? Alas, they must depend only on their own brethren.
So you see the parallel to what we were talking about, the Haftal L'Reacha Kamocha? So your neighbor is supposed to, you consider him like he's your brother. We saw last time in the Yerushalmi that says if you cut your finger by accident when you're slicing vegetables or something, you're so angry at your finger, you're going to cut it back? He says, no, obviously you realize you're like part of the same thing. So here's like we're like brothers of the same family. Similar concept. So of course we have to show tzedakah to our brethren. Go ahead.
Anyone who gives tzedakah to a poor person in a surly manner.
Surly. It means like an angry face.
Ah, okay. In a surly manner and with a gloomy face completely nullifies the merit of his own deed, even if he gives him 1,000 gold pieces.
Go ahead, yeah, please.
He should rather give him cheerfully and gladly, while sympathizing with him who is in trouble. As it is written, did I not weep for him whose day was hard? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? He should speak to him graciously and comfortingly. As it is written, I gladden the heart of the widow.
So we've been talking about different types of giving. Giving in produce, in kind. And we talked about giving in money. What's the Rambam talking about now?
So what was the question?
What type of giving is he referring to? Doing tzedakah.
You can't begrudgingly give to someone. You have to evoke like an actual love in giving.
This is about how to give. Speak to him. It's words. Graciously. Speak to him graciously and comfortably. It means giving him comfort. Comfortingly. Divrei tachanunim v'nichumim. You're supposed to speak to him and encourage him. That's tzedakah with sever panim yafot, with showing him a pleasant countenance, a smile. Wow, you can give tzedakah with a smile. I prefer that kind, because I get to keep the money for me. Sometimes it's hard to be nice to others, smile to them. What does he say? You come back, you had a hard day. Ulo bachiti likshe yom, somebody who had a hard day. Agman nafshi la'evyon. My soul grieved for the poor. Talked about in the context of a marriage. If you have a hard day, your wife should be nice to you. It's a mitzvah of tzedakah. And it's a mitzvah of love as well, in general. Love talarecha kamocha. So we see the Rambam himself is comparing the idea of tzedakah to loving each other. Keep going, please.
He who urges and activates others to give tzedakah receives a greater reward than the donor himself. As it is written, the effect of righteousness will be peace. With regard to the collectors of charity and the like, Scripture says, those who turn many to righteousness shall be like the stars.
I like doing that too. What that means is that I don't have to take any money out of my pocket as long as I get money out of your pocket to give to others. You know, I started a non-profit association. It's called Ohev Ger. They help out converts after their conversion. Some of them, actually later today, I'm going to be transferring some money to a family that's in need. And but also other things, we give them advice and counsel, how to find a community, and so it's amazing. I've been doing so many mitzvot, giving out so much money. Not my money. It's not my money. Other people give me donations, and I'm helping them do the mitzvah. That's Section 6. He who urges and activates others to give tzedakah receives a greater reward. Well, I hope I get a greater reward. I'm not doing it for the reward, but I think it's the right thing to do. But that's another level of tzedakah, right? It's not in kind. It's not produce. It's not money. It's not smiling. It's facilitating. It's social activism. That's tzedakah too. Being a social activist. Very good. Now, this is the Rambam, which is famous, which I wanted to teach you, and I know we have 8 minutes left. When are we supposed to finish? 1:10?
Yeah.
1:10, right? We can go a few minutes later. We're just starting. We're just getting started. This is the classic 8 levels of giving tzedakah. And I want you to think about when we read these 8 levels. The Rambam goes from the highest level to the lowest level. And again, we're taking it to how we can learn from the mitzvah of tzedakah to the mitzvah of relationships. When you give to your wife or your husband, and giving of many types. It's not only money, of course. Let's read them. Okay, Michael, I'm excited to see you too. It's been a while, so maybe you'll read for us. Section 7. There are 8 degrees.
There are 8 degrees of charity, each one higher than the other. The highest degree is to aid a Jew in want by offering him a gift or a loan, by entering into partnership with him, or by providing work for him so that he may become self-supporting, without having to ask people for anything. In regard to this, it is written, you shall maintain him, whether stranger or sojourner, he shall live beside you. That is to say, maintain him so that he may not fall and be in need of help.
Yeah, Rashi on the Torah brings this, and he says the actual language of the Torah is v'hechazaktabo. You should prop him up. You know, when you I don't know if any engineers here. When you study engineering, you know that it takes a lot of energy if you have a wall, and it's something's attached to a wall here, okay, and it's leaning against the wall and it's going to fall down. So if you attach it here with a little hook, sort of hook it on, it could be even a very weak hook. But once it falls down, it gets the entire weight of gravity pulling it down. To pull it back up here, you're going to need a lot more force. You're going to need a much stronger rope. And because it takes very little energy to keep it from falling down. But once it's fallen down, you need to lift it up. It takes a lot of energy. So the first type of tzedakah is to help somebody who's not really fallen yet. You could say the need is not even there yet. You could see it's happening. Help him stay up. Help him stay up. And how do you do that? What does the Rambam suggest?
A gift or a loan.
Gift or a loan is good, yes. What's
By partnering in business.
Providing work.
Providing work, exactly. And the key point, what does he say?
Self-supporting.
That's it. He won't need to ask at all. The best type of giving is somebody who doesn't even ask because he doesn't need it yet. But if you don't give it to him now, he will need it later. And to make somebody, you know what they say? It's the oldest expression in the field of giving tzedakah to poor people. So we're not going to give them fish. They're hungry? Don't give them fish. What do you do? Teach them how to fish, so they can get it themselves. They keep giving the fish. They're dependent. They're on the dole, and it's of course a mitzvah. They need to eat. Even better, the highest level. He starts off with the highest level is to teach them how to fish, to give them a parnasa or become their partner in business, and so you're helping them get started. And a loan also. You're not even giving them. There's no out-of-pocket cost. You're going to get the money back. But by giving him a loan, he can start a business and progress. Yeah.
Let's say, so using the example of teaching someone to fish.
Yeah.
Could teaching someone how to start a business or helping them get the business running, is that also without actually giving them a loan?
What do you think?
I know how to build websites. I want to build somebody a website so he can start his business.
So what do you think? According to everything we learned just now.
Yeah, I think so.
Of course, 100%. Okay, next, go ahead.
The next inferior degree is when he who gives charity to the poor is unaware of the recipient, who in turn is unaware of the giver. This is indeed a religious act achieved for its own sake. It is like the chamber of secrets within the temple, where the devout used to put their gifts in secret and the poor of good family. Where the devout used to put their gifts in secret and the poor of good family received support from it in secret.
Today, what do we call that? What he calls the chamber of secrets. What do we call it? Basically, it's a tzedakah box, right? You put in the money. You don't know who it's going to go to. The poor people that get the money, they don't know who it came from. Anonymous. Why is that important?
Because you're not doing it for this. You're not doing it for honor. You're doing it because.
That's right. You don't know who you're giving to. So you don't feel like you're lording over or you're better than the guy who gets. And the guy who gets,
he doesn't feel embarrassed.
Doesn't feel embarrassed in front of this guy who gave him money. And so this is right now also. There's another fellow I'm helping out. Happens to be a ger because that's who I'm dealing with, and someone decided to give a contribution to a specific ger, but he doesn't want him to feel embarrassed. So it's coming through me. I'm an organization. The organization will be helping him out, and we have a donation coming through us But it's anonymous. He doesn't know who's helping you. He thinks it's part of the organization. But there actually is a specific, somebody knows what he's going through and gave us a earmarked donation for him. So this is the second level where you avoid any embarrassment or any feelings of haughtiness or greater than, lording over. Yeah.
So I was helping actually in one of the organizations or some kind of London.
Yeah.
And they would like they had food and they would deliver it, and the deliverant would run away from the door. So he was, and so they didn't see him.
Right.
And some of the people that the recipients, they said, please stay so I can say thank you.
That's true. There is you get to say thank you if you know who it is. So it's not always.
But they really were marketed on to make it anonymous.
Right,
We don't care what your situation is. We just give it to you. And,
right. Yeah. It's very respectful. Yeah. So there's different things to be sensitive to when you're giving tzedakah. Again, when you're in a relationship and you're giving to each other, what do you give your wife for your birthday? Or this week from today, it's going to be my anniversary. So tough. Sometimes so it's customary we give each other gifts. Yeah. When we were really poor, we said, well, we don't have any money. We're not going to spend any money, but we're going to make each other something. So I took some pieces of wood. I made her a stand for a guitar, and she made me a little booklet of comics. It was cute. Anyways, but whatever you give, the point is that there's things to be sensitive about, things to think about. Number one was, is it a gift that's going to keep on giving? Like enable the person to, like one of the gifts you can give to someone is teach them how to fish, right? So maybe, for example, my wife wants to learn how to play the flute. She's going to get flute lessons, right? So it's lessons how to play flute. It's not just giving you a flute, right? It's teaching you how to fish, type of thing. But I'm always translating from what he says here about tzedakah in general to the tzedakah begins at home, which is why I'm teaching you this now. Let's continue as we have 2 minutes. Maybe we'll try to finish the other 6 levels. As you can see, he's going down. When he says the inferior degree, it's not inferior. It's just a little less than the highest, a little less than the next one. It's a scale of different ways to give tzedakah. In the end, if you give tzedakah, if somebody needs money to eat lunch, and you don't teach them how to fish, you take $100 and you give it to him, or whatever it costs, and you give it to him, and you don't smile, and you're sour-faced, and you stand over him. You don't do it anonymously. And at the end of the day, did you give tzedakah? Yeah. He had lunch. Otherwise, he wouldn't have food to eat. So it's still considered, all eight levels here are going to be considered tzedakah. But of course, we were striving for the ideal. We're learning from it. So, okay, let's continue. Also, Menachem, you haven't been here for a while, so read number 8 for us. Oh, so we're in the middle of number 8, right?
Yeah.
Of a similar character.
Of a similar character. Yeah, go ahead.
Of a similar character is the one who contributes to a charity fund. One should not contribute to a charity fund unless he knows that the man in charge of the collections is trustworthy and intelligent and knows how to manage properly, as in the case of Rabbi Hananiah ben Teradion, who administered the communal charity fund so scrupulously that once, when money of his own chanced to get mixed with the charity funds, he distributed the whole amount among the poor.
Nice. So the next, here, take this, pass it around. You're going to have to share again. It's on purpose I'm doing this, so that you share with each other.
No, but like the time.
It is 2 minutes. What time is it? My clock here
We'll make it
says 1:13. 1:13. Okay. So quickly, the last, it's just a few more lines. The third, go ahead, lesser degree, Menachem.
Lesser degree is when the giver knows the recipient, but the recipient does not know the giver. The great sages used to go secretly and cast the money into the doorway of the poor, Something like this should be done, it being a noble virtue if the charity administrators are behaving improperly.
The fourth?
Still lower degree is when the recipient knows the giver, but the giver does not know the recipient. The great sages used to tie money in sheets which they threw behind their backs, and the poor would come and get it without being embarrassed.
Keep
The
going.
fifth degree is when the giver puts the alms into the hands of the poor without being solicited. The sixth degree is when he puts the money into the hands of the poor after being solicited. The seventh degree is when he gives him less than he should, but does so cheerfully. The eighth is when he gives him painfully.
That's it. Those are the 8 degrees. Of course, B'ezrat Hashem, we should merit to give tzedakah in the best way possible and give to each other. Now I'm giving you a chance to go down.